Most people believe destiny is something you're born with, a gift, a blessing, or a curse. But that belief is exactly why most lives remain small. Because destiny doesn't arrive with riches, it arrives disguised as suffering. And today, you're going to discover the truth most people learn too late. The truth about why some rise from nothing, while others spend their entire lives waiting to be rescued. There exists a certain type of person in this world, one who cannot be stopped by poverty, broken by loss, or silenced by rejection. They don't complain, they don't beg, they don't wait. They move forward, even when it hurts. And if you're listening to this right now with a quiet conviction, a feeling that you were meant for more but don't yet know how to escape your current life, then this story is meant for you. Because hidden beneath centuries of ancient wisdom is a system so unforgiving, yet so powerful, that once you adopt it, your old self cannot survive. But there is a cost. To adopt this system, you must abandon the version of you that still hopes life will be fair. Before I take you deeper into this story, pause for a moment. If you are genuinely ready to hear something that may permanently change how you see struggle, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment one word below: discipline, not for me, for your own mind. Because the mind listens differently when commitment is declared. Now, let me take you back. Back to a time when village roads still smelled of rain and soil, and when silence carried meaning. Under the wide branches of an old peepal tree sat a boy no older than 13. His clothes were torn at the seams, his lips were cracked from thirst, and his eyes carried the weight of a future already taken from him. His name was Moan. Moan was born into poverty. Not the kind people romanticize in stories, but the kind that teaches you hunger before language. The kind where survival replaces dreams. His parents were daily wage laborers. Every sunrise meant exhaustion. Every sunset meant uncertainty. 2 meals a day were never guaranteed. And then the river rose. At first it was just rain, then it became something else. The flood came without mercy. It swallowed homes, it erased boundaries, it stole lives. When the water finally withdrew, it left behind destruction, and a boy standing alone. Moan's parents never returned. No bodies, no answers, just absence. For a few days, the villagers helped him. A plate of food here, a corner to sleep there. But compassion fades quickly when survival is scarce. Whispers replaced sympathy. An orphan has no future. He'll end up begging. This is how life works. At 13 years old, Moan learned a brutal truth. The world does not pause for your pain. And in that moment, something inside him hardened. Not into bitterness, but into clarity. Waiting would not save him, so he left, with nothing but worn sandals and fragile hope. Moan walked toward the city. He believed opportunity lived there, but cities do not reward belief, they reward usefulness. The streets were crowded, faces rushed past him like ghosts, no one noticed his hunger, no one heard his silence. For days, Moan begged, but the hunger in his stomach was not what broke him, it was the hunger in his dignity. Then one night, as he sat on a cold footpath, someone stopped. A middle-aged man, simple clothes, but eyes that carried depth. "Son," the man asked quietly, "why are you begging like this?" Moan lowered his gaze. "I have no other way." The man inhaled slowly, then said words that would fracture Moan's old reality. "Destiny only helps those who help themselves. If you want, I can show you a better path." That sentence did something powerful. Psychology calls it a pattern interruption. Ancient philosophy calls it the arrival of the teacher. Moan looked up. "Who are you? What can you teach me?" The man smiled. "My name is Kashi. I work at a small shop nearby. If you're willing to work, I can teach you how to live without begging." Moan didn't fully understand, but he understood one thing. No one had spoken to him with respect in a long time. He nodded. "Yes, please teach me." The shop was modest. Sweets, snacks, daily necessities. Nothing impressive, but the first lesson was immediate. "If you work here," Kashi said, "remember this. Patience and honesty are not optional." Moan began the next morning. Sweeping floors, washing utensils. His hands were sore, his back ached, but something new appeared. Hope. That night, he was given 5 rupees and a warm roti. He didn't eat it immediately. He held it, felt the warmth, because this was different. This was earned. Neuroscience confirms this moment. The brain releases dopamine, not when we receive rewards, but when we earn progress. Moan felt it. This is only the beginning. Kashi said softly. "The real journey begins when you stand on your own feet." That night, Moan made a promise to himself. He would never beg again. But deep inside, another realization formed. Sweeping floors alone would not rewrite his destiny. Moan woke up the next morning, before the sun touched the rooftops. Not because someone told him to, but because something inside him had shifted. For the first time since the flood, his body felt tired, but his mind felt awake. The shop smelled of sugar, oil, and dust, the same floor, the same broom. But Moan was no longer the same boy. He watched everything. How Kashi spoke to customers, how he handled money slowly, carefully, how he never rushed, even when the shop was crowded. There was a rhythm to it, a discipline hidden inside simplicity. Ancient monks used to say, how you do small things is how you do everything. Modern psychology agrees. Identity is not built in grand moments. It's built through repeated behavior. Moan didn't know the science, but he felt the truth. Days passed, sweeping became faster, utensils shined brighter, and something else happened. Moan started asking questions. Not desperate questions, curious ones. Why do people buy this more? Why do you keep the money like that? Why do you talk calmly when customers shout? Kashi never answered quickly. He let silence do half the teaching. Then he said one sentence that changed how Moan saw work forever. You don't work for money first. You work to become valuable. Money follows value. This is a principle taught in ancient Hindu texts, in Stoic philosophy, and echoed today in behavioral economics. Value creation precedes reward. Moan absorbed it quietly. Soon Kashi gave him a new task. Learn to count. Coins, notes, change. At first, Moan's fingers shook. Fear crept in. What if I make a mistake? What if I'm shouted at again? What if I fail? This is where most people stop. Neuroscience calls this threat response. The brain prefers familiarity, even if it's painful, over uncertainty. Begging was familiar, growth was not. Moan hesitated, then remembered the roadie, the warmth, the dignity. So he leaned forward. Slowly, he learned. He learned how to speak to customers, how to listen more than talk, how trust is built not with words, but with consistency. One afternoon, when Kashi stepped out, a customer arrived. "Give me 1 kilo of gram flour." Moan froze. Time slowed. His heart pounded. This was the edge. Do I retreat, or do I step forward? Courage is not loud, it's quiet and shaky. Moan stepped inside. He found the packet. He weighed it. He handed it over. Nothing exploded. No disaster. Just exchange. When Kashi returned and heard what happened, he didn't scold him. He smiled. "You're learning fast." Those words did something dangerous. They changed Moan's self-image. Psychologists call this identity reinforcement. The moment you see yourself as capable, you begin acting capable. Moan walked taller that day. But life never allows growth without resistance. One evening, the shop overflowed with people. Noise, movement, pressure. Moan rushed, and rushed people make mistakes. He handed the wrong item to a customer. The customer shouted. Accusations flew. The shopkeeper's voice cut through the noise. "If you can't handle responsibility, don't do this job." Silence. Moan's chest tightened. That old voice returned. "See, you don't belong here." This is the moment where most people collapse inward. Failure triggers shame. Shame triggers retreat. Kashi watched quietly. Later, he called Moan aside. "Listen," he said calmly. "Falling doesn't mean losing. Staying down does." Ancient warriors believed that character is forged, not in victory, but in recovery. Modern psychology calls it grit, the ability to persist despite emotional pain. Moan went home that night with a heavy heart, but something else was there too, resolve. The next day, he arrived earlier, stayed later. He didn't just work, he studied how inventory was managed, how profits were calculated, how mistakes were corrected. One evening, a question escaped his lips before fear could stop it. "Kashi, can I ever open my own shop?" The air felt still. Kashi looked at him carefully. "Nothing is impossible," he said slowly, "for someone who is patient and believes in time." Those words didn't give Moan comfort. They gave him responsibility. Because patience is not waiting. It's working without immediate reward. That night, Moan lay awake, thinking, if I don't want to beg, if I don't want to serve forever, what do I need? He broke it down. Money, experience, trust. He had experience. He was earning trust. Money was missing. So he asked again, "Can I work more?" Kashi smiled. For those who work honestly, doors always open. He introduced Moan to a vegetable vendor. Morning and evening, the cart. Daytime, the shop. Rain burned his skin, heat cracked his lips, his legs ached. But every night he counted his coins, not with greed, with gratitude. Each coin represented discipline, delayed gratification, a principle studied at Harvard linked directly to long-term success. Moan didn't know the studies. He lived the truth. Weeks turned into months, months into years. He never wasted a rupee. No shortcuts, no excuses. He learned the hardest lesson of all. Money earned easily leaves easily. Money earned with pain builds futures. Slowly, the pile grew. And one day, Moan stood at the edge of something new. He had enough for a small food cart. Not a dream. A beginning. The food cart wasn't impressive. It didn't shine. It didn't attract attention, just a small frame of metal, a kettle, a stove, and a wooden counter scarred by use. But to Moan, it was freedom. The first morning he pushed it into place, his hands trembled, not from fear, from meaning. For the first time in his life, what stood before him belonged to his effort. He wasn't working for someone anymore. He was working from himself. Psychologists call this shift, locus of control. The moment responsibility moves inward, motivation becomes self-sustaining. Moan boiled water. The steam rose slowly into the morning air. He poured the first cup of tea with care. When the first customer drank it, something subtle happened. A nod, a pause, a quiet smile, approval. Moan felt it ripple through him. This wasn't just tea, it was proof. Every cup carried early mornings, aching legs, missed comforts, and people felt it. Word spread. A few customers became many. Moan remembered Kashi's words, value first, money follows. So he did something different. He served honestly. He charged fairly. He listened. No shortcuts, no tricks. Behavioral psychology explains this. Trust is built, not through persuasion, but predictability. Moan became predictable, in the best way. But success has a shadow. As customers increased, so did pressure. Suppliers demanded faster payments. Days stretched longer, and then doubt returned. What if this fails? What if I lose everything? What if this was luck? These thoughts crept in at night. The human brain is wired to protect us from loss, more than to chase gain. This is loss aversion. It whispers fear even in progress. One evening, after closing the cart, Moan sat alone, exhausted. He stared at his hands, hands that once begged, hands that now built. And something clicked. This wasn't about tea. It was about identity. Ancient monks believed, discipline is choosing who you become before life chooses for you. Moan chose. The next morning, he woke earlier, cleaned the cart better, prepared more carefully. He wasn't chasing money anymore. He was honoring a standard. And something changed. Customers didn't just come, they returned. Soon, the cart became a landmark. Go to Moan's tea stall. People said it casually, but Moan heard it deeply. One afternoon, Kashi appeared. He stood quietly, watching from a distance. Then he approached. Look at you, he said softly. This is destiny. Moan bowed his head. No, he replied. This is discipline. Kashi smiled. That night, Moan didn't sleep much. A bigger thought had arrived. What if this wasn't the end? What if this was just the doorway? Growth creates hunger, and hunger demands expansion. He began saving again, every extra coin. No celebration, no waste. Time passed. The cart became a stall. The stall became a small shop. Moan hired help. The first time he paid someone else, his hands shook again. Responsibility had multiplied. Now others depended on him. But instead of fear, he felt calm, because discipline scales. Years rolled forward, the shop expanded, walls replaced cloth, tables replaced crates, and one day, without announcement, it became a small hotel. Moan stood inside, listening to voices, clinking cups, movement. Life. That night, after everyone left, he walked outside. The old footpath was still there, the same place where he once sat hungry and invisible. Moan stood there silently, tears filled his eyes, not of sorrow, of completion. He understood the final truth. Destiny is not written, it is practiced, every day, in silence, through effort. Moan didn't forget where he came from. He began teaching others, young boys, orphans, lost souls. Work, he told them gently, not for money, for dignity. Years later, as the city changed around him, Moan remained unchanged inside, grounded, disciplined. Because discipline had become his identity. And this brings us to the truth that applies to you. This was never about Moan. It's about what happens when you stop asking life for mercy and start offering effort. This is the ancient system. Not motivation, not luck, but discipline, applied daily, without applause. If this story shifted something inside you, subscribe for more, and tell me in the comments, What is the one small effort you will begin today without waiting to be rescued? Because destiny is already watching, and it only responds to action.